right now. Everything's taking so long. How y'all feeling?
We're blessed, man.
Good,
So
man. Good.
we are
Okay.
live on the Boy Man King podcast. I'm your host, Coach Crump.
All right now.
Super excited
Everything's
with
taking
my
so
guy, our co-host, Chizzy. Talk to the people.
What's going on, man? How you guys doing? I need this fixed today, man. I'm feeling good, but I need this. I need to be around my brothers today, man. But I'm glad to be here. Sunday, you know, I'm had a pretty chill day, but
Yeah.
I'm happy, man. As well as nice to catch up with you. I wish we caught up more, but we'll talk about that another day, man. I know you're a
Yeah.
busy guy.
And I wanna highlight our guest, man. The coach himself, Charles Irving, man. Welcome back to the platform, brother.
What's going
Man,
on? What's going on? How y'all feeling?
good,
Yeah,
good, man.
man.
You're a regular. It's not even like I can't even call you a guest anymore because
Yeah, that's why I said welcome
you
back.
put up so much.
And that's why I
Oh
said
man,
welcome back.
praise God, man. This is an honor to be here, bro. It's an honor.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and we're super excited, Charles. It was funny before you tapped in. Like anything, our space. One thing that we all hold dearly is checking in with men as men, right? We all make really commitments and sacrifices to make that part of our lifestyle. Chizzy, I got some things I definitely want to ask you, Charles. As you know, we highlighting the panel that you had at the King Conference, but I kind of want to just go organically. Chizzy was just talking about the struggle of being spiritually disciplined. I'm gonna
Mhm.
let him elaborate. And I know for me, and I know for me, and this is why I tell people like I like to add pressure to myself because I find my wiring, and I feel like my father, who is all knowing and all understanding, if I don't have the pressure on me, I neglect or revert to laziness, procrastination,
Yeah.
excuses, victim mentality. But it's like when I have to, and I feel like because I've been married with children since I was a widow committed relationship since I was 18, it forces my hand because it's always something to figure out. It's always something to troubleshoot. It's always something where it's out of my control. And I am made humble. You know what I mean? It's like I'm made humble that I'm trying, that I'm working, that I'm praying and I'm preaching. And I'm like, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing. And it's like it makes me surrender, and that kind of my posture has to be that. So like people say, man, you still on the prayer line, or you still like, bro, like you don't realize, like, for me to keep this up, you know what I mean? This is part of my personal maintenance to just
Mhm.
maintain the ship. It's not because it's like, I really want to go and get a theological degree in this seminary school, or I really want to write 5 books. It's like I need help. And I'm really doing the things I need to do that works for me, that keeps me having this ship up in a moral, principled, spiritual direction without me personally compromising it by my own neglect or inadequacy or incompetence. So it's not like, so I feel weird 20 plus years now in it for somebody to give me accolades as if I'm really doing it when really I'm really trusting in God, holding on to that, showing up to my best version the best way I can. And I feel like he's honored for whatever reason that he has for my life, for the work that he wants me to witness, because I'm not perfect. I've still made mistakes the entire journey, but I've stayed committed. And I talked about that at the Get the Worthy conference. Like the first thing we got to ask and challenge ourselves. Let's be honest. Are we committed? Man and woman, particularly,
Yeah.
not children. They off the board. But man and woman, you really gonna have to gut check to ask yourself, for real, for real, for real, losing weight, spiritual journey, making a relationship work. The rubber's gonna meet the road where we're really gonna find out for real, are you committed? Talk about you guys' journey, Chizzy. You kind of broke the ice with this. Like,
Mhm.
man, struggling to stay locked in, struggling to stay consistent, struggling to be committed to my own spiritual convictions.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just continue from where you started off. Charles, before you came on, I was telling these guys like I'm in a space where I'm isolated so much more than ever in my life. Where these are the times where I struggle with um just just actualizing the man that I want to be in a way that is always gauged and guided by my my choices in terms of my routine. So my spiritual routine, I'm right now in a space where I've been wishy washy for the last month in my devotion in the prayer line, and I noticed how it's kind of taking me backwards in the sense that I'm starting to use my efforts. I'm starting to really do things for me that I necessarily probably as opposed to relying on the strength of God, as opposed to putting my trust and my faith that He's gonna guide me. Like I'm now starting to, I wouldn't say revert. I'm not gonna say revert back, but I'm sorry. I'm kind of slipping a little bit. I slipped a little bit. Me and I were talking about it last week. I did like a 1 day fast because I wanted to really just be super focused and try. I've never fasted before in my life. Never. Not intentionally, not a spiritual fast anyway. So I said this particular day, I'm gonna just withhold, and I just had juice. So the morning I had some juice. I was praying. I did my devotion. I spent a good 30 minutes just praying before I went to the gym. Came home, had juice after the gym. Was praying. Was reading the Bible. Was reading some literature. And I really wanted to just zero in on what is God calling me to do next for this phase of my life, because I knew internally I'm struggling to feel it, to see it before, like I said earlier, my efforts would yield a result. And I don't want to use my efforts to yield a result. I want to yield the result that God puts in my path. So I'm continuously just functioning in a way that's guided by Him. And my footsteps are guided by what God wants me to do. But I can't lie, like it's been a struggle for the last month. And I could tell it's come as a result of me not really tapping into the prayer line as much as I used to. Me being wishy-washy with my devotions. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm just being transparent and forthcoming with what I struggle with. I'm struggling with now in hopes that somebody that's watching, that's listening, because make no mistake about it, just because you make a decision to follow Christ doesn't necessarily mean that everything's going to be a bed of roses once you make that choice.
Mm-hmm.
Like it necessitates even more focus than you ever had to focus in your life. And me, because I'm here, I'm gonna learn. I'm not learning. We talked about this before. I've isolated myself. I've insulated myself. No relationships. It's just me. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm probably ranting a little bit, but no, I'm thinking about me. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. This is what I do, sort of thing. And I know there's people out there, brothers, who don't have the capacity to once every week, once every day, be held accountable by a man. And so I was telling Chris before he came on, man, I needed this today because I
Mm.
felt like it's been a minute since I really just been settled. You know what I mean? So, although, we're here to talk about post-divorce, and that's another thing, post-divorce, what that looks like, what that feels like. These are all components of the insulation and the isolation that's necessary, yes, so that we can shift our focus and focus more on what God wants us to have. But it's a huge adjustment that has to be made for you to get to that space. So that's that's my little piece. Hopefully that kind of wets the whistle, um, facilitate the conversation.
Yeah, man. I think, in this space that I'm in right now, people are one of the things that we do is we trust God to do something. How do you want me to do this? How do you want me to do that? And what I'm learning is that in this space that I'm in right now to prepare for whatever he has, is I gotta trust him to not do. Like I gotta learn how to stop trying to do or, prepare for the next thing, because that is actually the thing that's causing me to be distracted from hearing, because I'm trying to do because I don't want to feel, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm learning that, I got to trust God to actually rest. Like, as a man, it's just difficult for me to just take the time to sit down and think about, where am I? What am I feeling? Why am I feeling that way? What's going on with me right now? To allow God to speak to me about where I am, to walk me through the process of where he ultimately is trying to take me. And that's really hard, man. I was talking to BK earlier, and just sharing with him, like, it's really this process of being able to lean into what I'm feeling as I'm going through this transition, so that I wrote a post a couple maybe about a month or two ago that said, I want to be healed. I don't want to just sound healed.
Yeah.
And going through this, it's really about, you got to stop trying to move and allow yourself to be where you're at right now. It takes just as much faith to move, to do something, as it does to not do, because you got to trust him for the thing that you think, if I don't do this, then this is not going to happen. And God is like, I need you to stop and trust me. And that's hard, man. That's hard, because, for the longest time, I left home when I was 19. You know what I mean? And it's just me. I can't call nobody for the most part and be like, I need this, I need that. And that gets scary sometimes. And God is like, I've been protecting you and taking care of you since you were in your mother's womb. And that's literally, like, it's not a cliche thing. Like, he showed me, he's like, nah, bro, I've been doing this for a long time. I know how to take care of you. So learning to rest, learning to stop trying to do, is where I'm working through right now. So
yeah. And Charles, I want to bring it back to you, man. You guys both have been through a huge transition that we're definitely going to talk about. But before we talk about that, I want to kind of highlight, like, me being in commitments for so long. Like, my wife and children in Bermuda. My grandmother passed. Shout out to the great, incredible Gwendolyn Brunson, 97 years young. She was an amazing woman, right? They come back on Tuesday. But I always get like scatterbrained when I'm at an empty house. I'm traveling without my wife. I'm in a hotel room without my wife. Like, I get like, what am I supposed to do, spirit, right? So going back to Chizzy's point, I want to bring it back to you, Charles. Then Chizzy, I want you to chime in as well. When you had a committed life and people that you had to take care of as a day-to-day thing, and then all of a sudden you're this grown, mature, intelligent, competent man, that now you're isolated, independent, and now you're getting stimulated on everything, on every front of social media. It's not just, it's different when I was 10 years ago. It's now, it's like, I got a phone, I got Netflix, I got this, I got that, I got this search, that search, I got Google, I got voice, I could ask anything as I have a thought, and it could entertain me. How is it as a man, when you've had commitments, you've matured to a space, and now you're isolated? How do you stay focused on your value in your day-to-day once that is removed? What are you guys practically doing? And how do you stay?
I stay in the house.
You ain't outside? George, you ain't outside?
I am not outside, bro. I'm staying in the house. Like, man, no, seriously, man. Like, look, man. I mean, I'm praying. I'm preparing for my next, and one of the things, when you talk about preparing for your next, it's like, I don't want to entertain anything that ain't for me.
Come on.
So, and I know me. I'm not a fool. Like, I live in Metro Atlanta. There's nothing but beautiful women out here.
Nothing.
Right? It's not like I can't be around people, so forth and so on. But I'm wise enough to know
Come on.
now that
Wise.
the thing that get me is because when I'm deficient in a particular area, it makes it easier for me to become susceptible to
Facts.
what's being offered. So you don't have your spouse, you don't have your children, you don't have genuine connection because that's gone. You're depleted now. You're deficient in this particular area, or at least let me rephrase it this way: you feel like it. So you start to want. It's like the body, right? The body when it's deficient in a particular nutrient or mineral, it craves that thing. So I'm like, yo, you want this, and rightfully so. It's a natural thing. But that desire can cause you to put yourself in a compromising position. So let's just stay in the house. I'm not going. I'm not going out.
Well, a great soliloquy and breakdown and a philosophy to get all the way to the fundamental principle of stay inside.
I'm staying in the house, bro.
You gotta protect yourself from yourself sometimes, man. You gotta really protect yourself from yourself. And you know, what decent looking man, it's not, it's easy. I mean, you're in Atlanta. I'm in the GTA in Canada, in Toronto, Ontario. It's easy to find distractions because, like you said, when you're healing or going through a healing process, those needs become amplified because you're so used to having. So now discipline is easy. When you're in a relationship, if you're a disciplined person in a relationship, if you're loyal, if you're trustworthy, if you're all of that, these things are naturally easy for you because you have a woman there and you know that at the end of the day, your loyalty rests with that relationship. And those things become amplified when you're single. So when you're a single man, it's just like saying a drunk person speaks a sober person's mind when you don't have anybody to be like, hey, where you going? Or you don't have any responsibility to a female, or you're not going to worry about having this all in your ear. All of those inadequacies that you feel can become amplified if you lack discipline. So I get what you're saying when you're saying, I stay in the house. Yes, it may be factual that you stay in the house, but also, the good thing is, I believe I'm a little bit more disciplined in terms of I'm more mature. So, I don't have, and I'm a little bit farther along in my healing process, comparatively speaking, in terms of time from your separation and your divorce to my divorce. So that gives for me, and I'm speaking for me, this gives me a level of security. And I'm going to say security in this sense that I'm kind of used to functioning in this space to a certain degree. But at the same time, I'm a man just like the next person. Like you said, with social media, with all the things that we have access to, if the discipline is low, all of those things become amplified.
Yeah, because what I like to talk about, what Charles talked about, was the desire is still there. So even though the situation has changed, the desire, it hasn't changed. Like the desire is still there. So that's where it gets gray with the discipline, because you still have a fire that's brewing inside you to want that
I
thing.
have to pray and ask God not to plant certain seeds in my brain, in my head, whether it's a reflection on what used to be with said partner, to I remember what that feels like, or you're home alone and you're watching something on TV and you realize that
man,
it's a lot.
Yeah, I was saying it. So I'm at Get the Worthy conference. We're having a phenomenal time. This is last night. Let's go real time case study. Last night, I'm like, man, I'm pouring into people, praying over people. Nate decides to take me out to dinner. We go to this nice restaurant in downtown Philly.
Yeah.
And how we're in a group table of people that just want to say thank you to, and I've been loving on people all day. But for whatever reason, a table next to us, there's this beautiful woman that sits and she stares at me, bro. So I'm like, let me look down and eat, take a couple bites. Then I look up. She's locked in again. I said, okay. don't give any signals, bro. That's the
Yeah.
main thing. So
So
again,
imagine if you're me. Imagine if you're
so,
me
so
or
I
your
know,
Charles.
no,
You know what
but
I'm saying?
I'm getting full circle. I'm getting full circle. So once I did a drive-by glance and realized she still was locked in on me, I said, okay, I'm just not looking that way no more because she was really, really attractive. It wasn't like, you know what I'm saying? So I'm saying that as a man who's married, loyal, missing my wife, but because I'm missing something, right?
Yeah.
I'm I'm not, I didn't come in with that whole day was ministry. I had no, I'm finna pour
It
into
wasn't even on
Naomi's
your
wife.
radar. Right.
Like it wasn't even on the radar. And so when I got home, I was like, yo, that is dangerous.
Mm.
That's dangerous that because I said if she would have made a move and they wasn't here, because I wanted to go down to the bar to the local hotel restaurant. I had a huge like he put me up in a nice spot, so it had a dope lounge, dope. I said but I was like I didn't like the menu, so I was like, oh, I'll come and kick it with y'all. But I was like, I said to myself, what if I went to the bar, right, and I was by myself and nobody else was there, and that same energy, she sat right next to me and had a conversation because I'm gonna have a conversation because that's what I do and I'm in a room upstairs by myself. Like I had to really have an internal dialogue about something. I didn't do anything wrong, but
Yeah.
something's not right. Does that make sense?
100%
Yeah.
it makes sense. It
Yeah.
makes 100% sense. And so like I was saying earlier, it gets amplified when you don't have those parameters, when you don't have that. Like I can't defer to a discipline to the discipline of a committed relationships. If I was in that situation with you, everything about that outcome and how that plays out comes down to my character and me as an individual. Because I don't have to not engage. I don't have to not look and see that's just beautiful and want to take it to the next level. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But the other part to that is of course, your perspective is from a married man. For us, it comes down to even if it gets to a conversation or for a numbers exchange or another interaction, how is this woman feeding me spiritually? So that's the kind of thinking I'm on. I'm like, okay, I can meet whoever I want to meet, whenever I want to meet. But the next step is that's the first line. The next phase is she the right wasn't? Is she sent to me for a reason? And what's the
Let's not go to stage two. Let's stay on stage one.
okay? I gotta say
Let's stay on stage one. Because let's not go deep. I'm missing my wife. I
right.
don't like I know for a fact if my wife was there,
Yeah.
I don't even know if I would have looked at it. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm with my wife. You know what I mean? But
Right.
because I wasn't, and you know what I mean, like it was just like, yo, it blew my mind that like that
Oh yeah, man.
it even be something. You know what I'm saying? But like, so it all that praying, all that being married for years, none
Yeah.
of that matters in my intent and my mindset. And I'm FaceTiming her before on FaceTime when I got to the hotel. Like we sent a sweet message. We had a great vibe. Me and my wife had a great, because I've been mindful of supporting her going to her grandmother's funeral. We had a
Yeah.
great vibe all the way up to before I got on this call with y'all. She was on the phone wanted to FaceTime me one more time before I got on this lot. Like that's how sweet our communication has been over this weekend. But even with all that in place, it
Yeah.
doesn't change the fact that boom, there's a window, boom. And I was just like, and I had to resist what Charles was saying. I had to resist my natural,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that word is. I had to resist that to be like, let me not, you know what I'm saying? Because it was also a natural attraction that
Right.
happened. I had to just cut it off and be like, you know what I'm
And
saying?
that's all right, you know.
Yeah. No, but I know it's not all right because going back to Charles' point, why he's staying inside, like because I'm charismatic, because I'm joking, because it is imperative for me not to give any hints or any alley
Oh
oops.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Like you know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm saying like it. No, I'm telling you for what I know. It is imperative for me not to do a side jab, not to do a wink. Like I'm
That
like that.
monster. You got to keep
Like
that
I
monster
would
at bait, bro.
that monster we talk about. Like I would do a wink I would do a nod and a toast. I would carry on a certain way. I would pay them. Like I'm as important. I'm like, come out of that quick. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Be honest though, right? I mean, the reality of it is that out of a situation like a divorce, you want to know, man, do I still got it?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you want to know, you want to feel like you still the man. So even in the efficiency of connection, which is natural, there's also this self-image issue of wanting to feel like you are, you know, the man, the king, the whatever, right? So you might not be eliciting something to go. Really trying to do is just get her to respond the way you want her to respond.
Right. Right.
Nah, you just set yourself up, because here's the discipline. The way I'm looking at it, right? The way I'm looking at it is, yo, I want to make sure that, again, preparing for my next, that I am implementing certain things without this person, so that when I have this person, it's easy for me to operate with them this way, right? So even though I'm single, I'm putting boundaries on myself to not operate as I would if, simply because I'm not with anybody. It's like, no, I'm thinking, no, you act like you got a wife. You got a wife.
Right.
So that you are conditioning yourself to function a certain way, because my desire, and this is what I pray, that like Job, I can make a covenant with my eyes where I don't in any way, shape, or form desire anyone other than my wife. Whoever that may be. Like that, and that's not my wife's job. You know what I mean? Whoever that's mine. And for me to make that kind of commitment, I have to make that when I'm not with anybody. Because then I could just say, I remember one time when me and my ex-wife had separated, I was concerned because I was a little, wild out there sometimes, right? And it's like, man, I'm afraid, God, like I can be faithful if I'm with somebody, but I don't know if I can, be faithful. You know what I mean? He said something to me that rocked me. He said, faithfulness isn't to your wife. Your faithfulness is to me. Yo, and I didn't realize I was operating trying to be faithful to my wife. Time, and my real faithfulness wasn't to my wife, it was to God. I had never had that perspective before. So
it's I mean, hindsight is always 2020. And I can remember even back then, and even the man I am now, I'm saying I probably would have never got divorced if the man that I am today and the journey that I've taken today. Of course, everything happens for a reason, and there is a reason why things go the way that they go. I've had some extremely painful moments even after divorce, dating, trying to, like you said, fill them voids. You know what I'm saying? Because you want to see if you're the guy. You see if you still got it. So I'm taking that whole journey where it's caused pain to other people as a result of the choices that I've made, just not being ready and not being healed, or trying to fill them voids, or trying to actually, see if I'm still got it, so to speak. And I think everybody's journey is a journey. And so hopefully, people that are watching and other brothers who are going through the same thing, they don't have to experience the pain or hurt of a divorce. And if they do, they're able to transition through it in a way that's healthy for them, so they don't, they don't have to also hurt people as a result of them trying to find themselves. You know what I mean?
And I want to get that scripture, Job 31:1. I made a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully at a young woman.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, like that 31:1. They don't teach that in the church, but what they need to be teaching
Is
is
that's so that's the covenant, that's the marriage covenant we're talking about?
no,
He
no.
made a
What
he made a covenant with himself.
He made
He made a
oh, okay,
promise
okay.
to himself.
I made a covenant with my eyes, which means I have consecrated my
Hmm.
eyes not to look at a woman just objectively,
Right.
like for what, as an object for my personal pleasure. But
Yeah.
I have made a covenant that every woman I look at, that's God's daughter. You
Right.
know what I mean? Like, and so for me, you got to say scripture sometimes to remind you when your feelings start to go left or right for whatever reason. But I wanted to transition to this, man, because I think you guys are experts at this, and I really want our community to hear from you.
Hmm.
Um, my grandmother, even though it's my wife's grandmother, she was mine, so she's our last living grandparent, on any of our sides. And she was, to be honest, the most dynamic. She was amazing. She was, when I met her, I was a college kid, 19 years old. And to give you guys context why our relationship is so tight, Chizzy would know this, but in Bermuda, summertime, people got to work all day. So I'm a grown man there. Everybody else is like, oh, I got to go to work. But grandma's 70, 76 years old. She's home all day. She's making me banana pancakes. She's telling me stories about the kids. My first time, I went to go see her every day for 3 weeks. I went and grabbed her groceries for her. I helped walk her dog. She did salsa dancing. She played music all day, really, really loud, all the windows up. She danced in her living room. She talked about her goal of being 100 years old. So she made it to 97, right?
Mm,
After COVID, it just really went left. You know what I mean? She never got her lifestyle back. But the reason why I bring up that story, because she means the world to me and my family, and she raised my wife. Um, you guys mentioned that divorce is like death. And so when I was on the Zoom call yesterday watching the funeral, I was seeing the faces, and I was thinking about you guys on tonight's call, that because she's died, things are going to change. Like, it's not just I had a dope relationship with her, but because she's dead, the dynamics of how I had a relationship with everybody in the family is going to shift. And I can literally see it in real time while I'm on the Zoom watching the funeral. And you guys have talked about, when you go through a divorce, it's like death, because that lifestyle that we all shared no longer exists. Like, if we're dead to that, like that version of the
Yeah.
lifestyle. And now everybody that's involved, like every single person, indirect, direct, immediate, not immediate family, has to now alter their
Mhm.
lifestyle because that no longer exists. Is that because I know we talked about it on the panel, but can you kind of just highlight again how you guys navigate that whole space?
I'll let you, Charles, you want to go first, or you want me to go? You look
yeah,
like you're ready.
busy.
Okay. Um, as I said, previously, I'm I've been divorced what 5+ years now. Um, but I remember in the beginning, it was even honestly, even now, it's a I have to consistently navigate how do I want this relationship to be, and how do I want to show up in this relationship, because it is a relationship. We have kids together. I have a son 21, I have a daughter 16. So there will always have to be some level of relationship and obvious support for my ex-wife. Even as recent as a couple of days ago, there's conversations, times that hang around. I have to reshape what that relationship is going to look like. Take away the emotion, take away the past hurt, take away all the entitlement that I felt, the justification that I felt as to why things went left. But um, it's not easy, but it's good as well. It's good in the sense that because I know that I can control me, and I have a different outlook, I have a different approach. I know that she can't really say or do anything to rock me in that particular way anymore.
Anymore.
anymore. Because we just know a couple years ago, I was out here acting the fool. You know what I mean? Because again, all of that stuff just keeps coming and it snowballs. And if you don't go through therapy, if you don't go through counseling, if you don't have the positive outlets to really, really just understand your feelings and what that death, we put death in quotation marks, feels like in that relationship, then, it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks when you least expect it. But every day, because
Are you still grieving?
yeah, I'm glad you asked me that question. I was talking to my boy today, and there are parts of me who will never be comfortable with introducing another relationship to my ex-wife. I don't know what that's about. And I can tell you with a certainty that I don't think it has anything to do with me still wanting that relationship. But I think there's a level, I don't even know how to put it in words, if I'm being honest. But I just know that for me, I have a lot of respect for who she is and what she has to do. And maybe because I'm still very involved with the children's life. Like I could go over there and we could cook and we could eat and we hang out at track meets and all that type stuff. There's for some reason I just don't feel comfortable. Well, luckily I'm not in that situation, so I don't really have to worry about it. But I'm not comfortable with saying, "Hey, this is my significant other, and we're gonna move this forward." I don't even know honestly if I'm gonna get to that point, and that's scary for me because once you get divorced, you have a desire to be with somebody. And I don't know if I require more therapy or more time to really, really compartmentalize that part of my life to the degree that I'm not ready to bring somebody else in that space. But I honestly can tell you that I'm not 100% sure that I would even want to have that level of commitment again at this phase of my life.
Mm.
And that's kind of scary for me because I see myself as a relationship guy. My parents have been married almost 50 plus years. I want to be in that space again, but the nuts and nuts and bolts and operationally how that's going to work, I can't even understand. I can't even see past that. I can't even get to that space right now. You know what I mean? But again, this is my journey. Some people obviously don't have that experience. But I never want to put myself, I always want to be available to the children, to her in a particular way. So maybe subconsciously there's still something about me that still wants to see some success in that relationship in a way.
Yeah, I'm about to say, are you scared because the divorce is final in public? Are you scared to Are you very mindful not to cross a line with her because you're scared she's going to hurt you again, so you won't even allow a line to be crossed with her because you got a divorce?
Possibly, yeah. I think that could be it. Um, it's almost like you gotta. I feel like I'm gonna manage this beast that could potentially become so great. So I'm just like, all right, let's just not really fully, um, you know, cause any issue here, because I don't want to stir
Okay.
that pot again to
I'm,
get
I'm
that
sorry.
other
I'm sorry,
baby. You know what I
Charles.
mean?
I'm sorry, Charles. I really want you to go. Let me just say this. Let me just
No,
say,
no, no. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah. Because I want to hear from you and your perspective on this. But Chizzy, like
Mm.
because of your aging stage, can you and Kamika have like a full-on adult conversation of we're going to be in a relationship forever because our children that we bear together?
Mm.
I always want a healthy dynamic with you, always. But I want to know where you're at. Like, is there not a safe space for y'all to just exchange a conversation to be clear on end game, ultimately where we are now, and what we're willing and not willing to do? Like, what's the guardrails? Like, and
Yeah,
then y'all can revisit. It has that. Is that a space for y'all?
I think it is a space. Obviously, I would have to take the lead on a lot of this, and because
Do you feel like that? I feel like that's necessary, though. Do you feel like that's necessary to be for you, we both as adults to be clear about what you're doing with your family?
no, we've had conversations. We have often have conversations about the direction of the children, but
No,
as a
no, no,
relationship
no.
to each other
Yes,
individually. As
yes.
I mean, obviously she's familiar with my past relationship, but here and now, um, it may be necessary, but I think it's more about me and my level of comfort and where I am with my healing and my grieving. That I don't even think it really affects her in that way. She could be completely oblivious to all of this, and she probably is oblivious to all of this. I've never told her what I'm saying to you guys right now in terms of
I figured that. I processed that. But what I'm
yeah.
saying is you're headed to your 50s. Like the kids are almost full grown. And at some point as men, I'm going through this, process coaching made men. And one of the phrases say, don't be a mute man. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And Charles, we talked about this on the line where there were certain conversations just as a responsible adult that we are required to have with the people that we are living life together in whatever capacity they're in. And for whatever comes, we do it with our children, we do it with our colleagues, we do it with our
Mhm.
brothers. But when it comes to our woman, we pause and we taper. And then there's misunderstanding in this. So I just wanted to throw that to you to really, I know you're going through the healing because you can even say that, hey, I'm not even clear. I'm still going through my grieving and my healing, but I want to
Mhm.
at least make sure me and you as responsible adults who are taking care of these children and this family together, where me and you are, because we're going to be in a relationship forever to the day we die, no matter who comes in and who comes out. So I want to make sure me and you are really clear on that because I love and respect you as the mother and as part of this family. But I want to be clear too. I don't want to cross any lines that you feel uncomfortable with. I don't want to say something that makes you feel, you know what I'm saying? Because you're a nice guy. You could be coming over, you over there cooking and cleaning and doing her laundry.
It's funny.
You know what I'm saying? Like this, I'm being honest though. Like Charles could tell you, like, bro, like at
It's
Bible,
funny interpreting that in a different way, huh?
bruh. If we're grown adults and I'm over your house regularly, it's one thing to drop off the kids and wave at the door. Okay, y'all got a nice little thing. You're inside the house, in the kitchen with her. You're washing her laundry, cooking dinner, eating it together. Like, we're gonna have to have a conversation about, because if a dude roll up in there like, yo, what's up, fam, and just sits down, and
Mhm.
you haven't even known that there was a dude this whole time, that's gonna kind of be a little off. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You pull up with a female one day next month, that's gonna be kind of off at the track meet. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think it's imperative that you're in a better space to receive whatever response she's gonna give and not be taken back by it. You know what I mean?
I think verbatim, no, we haven't had that conversation, but I think we both have created the environment where there's a level of understanding. Obviously, you know, I'm not dating anyone else. I don't know if she is. It doesn't really matter to me if she is, or she isn't. But I know for me, I know that, I've always said that, I'm gonna be a resource for you no matter what. And that if you need anything, I'm got you, the normal stuff. And I always wanted to maintain that this new, newly defined relationship is a priority to me and these children, to make sure that I do what I can to just support her and the kids.
Okay,
There's
that,
some
but that's all left to interpretation. So anyway, just have the conversation. All right, Charles, I want to give you back the floor, bro. Floor is yours.
I
let's
think
turn to a counseling session, bro. But it's all good. It's love.
I think well, ask the question again because I forgot.
Yeah. So as we talked about, I was preparing the context of like divorce being like death.
Yeah.
How have you moved on from the grieving process, from the altering the lifestyle, like what coping mechanisms, like what do you have to practically do as a man now and then for you, I know you talked about this on the panel. I know they're going to see it when it's released tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
but just kind of rehashing that, like, was it like death for you and that everything now with everybody involved is a bit jaded a bit because the dynamics not.
Yeah, because I mean, the reality of it is that in my situation, I'm married into children.
Mhm.
So biologically, they're not mine. But I treated them as if they were my own to the best of my ability.
Mhm.
Um, you know, how do you navigate that now, right?
Mhm.
Are you,
How
allowed
many how many
to?
years how many years did you raise and how many kids did you
It was
raise?
4 children. I was with her for it would have been 9 years in August. So, and then, the time we spent together prior to that. So you're like 11 years, right? The youngest two, I was in their life since they were 3 and 4 years old, 2 and 3 years old, to be honest. But, you know, officially, consistently from the time they were like 2 and 3 years old. So,
Mhm.
um,
So I mean, you've been dad.
yeah, right. I taught the oldest two how to drive. Helped them get their first job, navigating all those things. So there's a lot of stuff that I've done, and the relationship dynamics between me and her side of the family wasn't always that good. So it's like when things started to feel a little bit better, it's like now you're divorced. So how do you navigate all of those things? How do you navigate those relationships? Trying to not only just deal with it from an emotional place, but how do you navigate it and be respectful of her and things of that nature? So you lose a lot, man. You lose, you know, I walk home. Oh, I walk not walk home, but I come home and the house is empty.
Mhm.
You're
What
used
is
to
that? What is that feeling like?
it. Is it reminds you of the good things that you did have that you won't have again. And in those moments, I have to literally stop, allow myself to feel what I'm feeling and just grieve. I
Mm,
literally will cry. If
mm,
that's what I gotta, it's not even if that's what I gotta do, but I will literally cry in that moment and say, okay, God, I'm feeling grief right now. I'm feeling a sense of loss right now. In that very moment, in my living room, I need your help to allow me to feel this so that I can get it out. Because once I get it out, I can move on. Um, but I think that's one of the things, we don't actually allow ourselves to feel it. We try to run from the feeling, we try to change the feeling, we try to change. It's like, no, the process is to grieving is a part of the healing process.
mm. But
A
do
lot of
we,
people,
but Charles, but do we run from the feeling because family means so much to us as men? Like family, I personally believe family means to the general man more to anybody else in humanity because we got to protect it, we got to provide for it. Like that is part of our identity that we wear proudly. And bringing that feeling back, it just reminding you that you don't have it, and it
you don't
hurts.
have it. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you're feeling at one time. You're feeling a sense of loss. You're also feeling a sense of shame. You're feeling a sense of guilt. You're also feeling, man, what if I'd have done this? This I wouldn't be. You know what I mean? And you're trying to navigate a whole bunch of emotions and thoughts, and it can all happen so fast in one moment that you don't even know that you're experiencing all of this at one time. And what happens is you become overwhelmed, right? You have your thoughts, you have your feelings, you have the loss, you have the sense of shame, you have the guilt hitting you all at once.
Wow.
And you get overwhelmed because you don't really know you're dealing with all of this at one time. And for me, my thing is don't run from it, lean into it, allow yourself to feel it. Because what will happen is if you don't allow yourself to feel it, you're going to be out somewhere. You might even be married again. and something will remind you of something from your past, and you break down, and your new wife ain't gonna understand why. And it's really because you haven't actually allowed yourself to go through the grieving process to address the emotions that you were dealing with. And now she's feeling some type of way, thinking that you probably still want to be with this person. So for me, I'm like, yo, God, when I leave this place, I'm moving in about a week. I'm like, yo, when I leave this place, I want to leave it all here. I don't want to take this with me. Right. So whatever crying I need to do, whatever writing I also journal. Right. Whatever writing I need to do, if I don't have something to write, and I'll do a voice memo. I need to get this out so that whatever it is that I'm feeling, I can process. And that way, when I come into a situation that reminds me of something in the past, I don't have an emotional reaction to it because I've already addressed it.
I wanna applaud you for your approach to your healing process, because I can tell you I definitely didn't take that approach, and I wish, and in hindsight, hindsight's 2020, I kind of wish I had, because like I said previously, there are people that were hurt as a result of my lack of healing. So for me, it was like, no, I don't want to lean into it. I need to feel that acceptance. I need to feel that love. I need to feel what it feels like to be in a relationship. So for me, and I'll let you continue, it looks like, and I'm pretty sure there are other brothers out there similar to me and similar to you. For me, that looked like, all right, I need to get a new girlfriend real quick. And my radar, my gauge for good partners, no slight to my ex, maybe it was me. My gauge was off, because there are things that I really should have seen as red flags that I should have walked away from. But because I was insecure, because I needed to feel that love, because I needed to fill that void, I decided to go and enter into another situation, and then still make it worse by being disloyal to that situation, because I just needed to feel it. I didn't feel it for so long. I felt marginalized. I felt not seen or not heard. You know what I mean?
And I'm glad, Charles, I'm glad you're bringing this all up, because I'm going back to that with Chiz, because even when he got in another relationship, me and his other best friend, we were like, why is he acting weird now?
Yeah.
He I'm being honest, like he wasn't even him, like he would say stuff that he usually would never say when he was even married. Like he was going through, but I'm like, bro, she got you like that? Like
that ain't you.
We was like, because like our circle is tight.
Yeah.
So with Chick, like he's seeing the same people with me for 20 years. He hasn't seen like there's no new person that popped in like, from 5 years ago, like it's the same people. So like we got a little culture with our, like everything's love, everything's family. So when he brought a new person in, they wasn't a part of our culture and but his wife was. Even they know what they were like, she was. So it's like it. So she gets why he got to be with us. She gets that when he's with us, he's safe. He don't need to explain that. But now it was like, yeah, bro. He like, but let me
all
let
of
me
that.
get back to you, because I need to. I'm like, you need to get back to me. I'm like, you're a 40-year-old man. Like, what you mean? Like, it was just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so
all those
I'm hearing him
dynamics
now.
change.
That's what so Charles, am I tripping to be like, bro, you need to really have a separate of you doing, because he did the work after the fact, right?
Yep.
Later. But there's still a conversation and a grieving that you still need to have a Kamika, that I feel like, because y'all are in a relationship and there's going to be some assumptions because you're back, but you're not all the way back, and it's not back what it was. So like there needs to be clear communication about what it is and what it isn't and what we want from it. Because see, Charles, you're different. Like you done did agree with but I'm ready to leave all of this and prepare for my next one. But everybody's situationship is different. He's with her regularly and in the house and eating and talking and going to track meets together. As adults, we need to have an understanding what this is and what this is.
I think it's somewhat of an oversimplification from your perspective. I do receive what you're saying, as it relates to clearly defined guidelines, and I think we have that established. But I also think that, again, this is about me and
Well,
how I'm
let me call
interpreting
Cap. Let me call Cap since you're wearing a hat.
that cat.
You still have the thought of getting back with Kamika, right or right?
I have remember what you said
No, answer
earlier.
the question. Answer the question. You still have thoughts of getting back with Kamika. You have thoughts.
I have thoughts. I have thoughts of a family unit, and
Well,
this is how I function.
yeah,
So this is the conundrum. This is the conundrum right there, because even though there's a grieving process and there's a death of a relationship, because we have children together, I believe it's still very possible to still have an extension of the family under this new understanding with your past partner. This is my ideal. And although some people may say, nah, you need to clear lines, you need to make sure that she understands. And I think those understanding, those clear lines are there. But at the end of the day,
Not.
we'll always be family.
They're not. They're
You
not.
don't think so?
so let me say this. Let me say
Yeah.
this, because it's one of
You
those
tell us
things
your
where
opinion.
it's one of those things where, because even before Chris said it, I already knew. Like, he still wants to be with his wife, or he at least has some sort of idea or thought around it. The thing is this, going back to your original question about divorce being in death. It's hard to establish those types of lines if you haven't accepted that it's over.
Right.
Right. So going back, when I remember when my Uncle Rick passed away and I was at his funeral, I was still thinking he was gonna get up. Like, no, this is like, I'm looking at his dead body, and in my mind, I can see him breathing.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't accept that he was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the to go through that grieving process, you stop it when you don't fully accept that it's over. You can't, if you don't actually fully accept it's over, why would you grieve? There's nothing to grieve. Right? And I think that's one of the challenges that I know I had to get to, was because it's funny, because I have this whole voice memo. I have like 7 or 8 voice memos where I'm actually processing. Like, eventually I'm gonna actually make that into a recording so that people can see. Like, I had to go through this process. And I'm like, there's something else. And it was acceptance. That's a major part of getting to this place where you can grieve so that you can heal and process and move forward. If you don't accept that this is over, you don't get to that process.
Let me be clear. This is not unacceptable. It's not me saying that I don't accept it and it's not over. This is not what this is saying. I'm
No,
not
this is
saying
not
that.
even about you. This is
Yeah.
about other men.
I know. I just want to make that clear, because there's some people that
This
are
is
watching them
about.
and say, "This guy."
I want to make
He's
sure that
trying to. No. That's
we
not
want to
happening.
give practical things that you're gonna have to address
Right.
and deal with. And I know for me, it was like, no, you have to get to a point where you accept. I think that's one of the hardest things, and Shannon talked about this, right, when we were on the panel. Acceptance is the last thing. It's the last thing in the process of I think it's the process of death. I forgot what it is, but you go through these stages, and it's like, anger, denial, and
depending on the individual.
yeah,
The five
you go through
stages.
these stages,
Yeah.
and the last step is acceptance. And I fundamentally believe that if you don't get to acceptance, you actually don't ever get to a point where you grieve.
So let me ask a question. Go ahead.
Huh?
Sorry. Let me ask a question.
No.
And this is
Go ahead.
both of you guys. Is it possible post acceptance to still function? Let's say for you, I'm gonna put it directly to you. How do you see your interactions in the future with your ex-wife? So you've heard my 5-year stint. I was angry, pissed off, violent, all of that. Now I'm to a place where we could coexist, and I could be there, and there's no emotional attachment to me, outside to her, outside of if I bring somebody else into another space and what that's going to look like from an introductory perspective. In the future, how do you see yourself, or what is your end? How would you like to be the interaction? Because remember, like you talked about, you have kids, step kids that you've fathered for a number of years. It's very unlikely that you're just going to walk away and say, all right, bye, see you later. That's not possible. That's not going to happen. How do you see that interaction taking place in the future? Or how would you like to see that interaction with your stepkids, their mom, your ex-wife? This could be a year from now. This could be 6 months from now. It could be 10 years from now. How do you see that interaction being in the future?
Well, I think it is very possible.
Right.
And what I mean by that is I have to be realistic about the fact that I plan on getting married again.
Mm-hmm.
And I am very clear. When I was married before, I was very clear with, I'm not bringing my ex-wife and anything that comes with her into, like, it's just a no. And my ex-wife now, she understood that. So right. Because the dynamics are different and there are children involved and I do have a relationship with them, mm-hmm. I've never been in this situation before. Mm-hmm. But what I do know is that I have made a resolve in my own heart that I will not allow myself to be manipulated into engaging into a relationship simply because there are children. I'm just not doing that.
Right. So it's when your turns, pretty much.
Yeah. So I have to put some boundaries on myself, and then I have to be honest. If I can't handle the dynamics of the relationship, then I may have to step away from having a relationship with the children, even though I was, their father for those many years, because of the simple fact that legally, not even legally, and I said this to her before, before we got a divorce and even in the marriage, it was like, yo, we're in a situation where I can build a relationship with the kids and you can just take them. There's nothing I can do about it.
So you legally weren't adopted? You didn't legally adopt these children? Okay.
No.
Okay.
Right. Okay. And their father is still in their lives. Mm-hmm. I gotta respect that.
Sure.
Right. There's a sense of honor that I have to, you know what I mean? So he might be like, yo, I don't want you to be around my kids. There's nothing I can do. Right. So I have to accept that as a reality. And then I have to have my own, because I don't want to bring any confusion into my next. If I have children, if I'm married again, and this becomes a problem, like Ishmael, you got to go.
Right.
And I'm very serious about that. I love you, but I am no longer responsible for you. Not because I don't love you, but because I understand the dynamics and how all this plays out when people are going to try and use, and that's not to say that she's that type of person. That's not what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is that I have to look at it from all kinds of angles and be honest with myself about what I'm willing to do and what I'm not willing to do, and be clear about that before it even comes up, so that when it does come up, I already know what I'm going to do. So again, this is like it's hard because, you do love, right? You do care. But at the end of the day, and this was hard for me. This was the hardest thing, because I had got to a point where in my soul, I love those kids as if they came from my loins. And then some stuff had happened where it was very clear to me, these are not your children. And I struggle with letting go of what was in my heart, because I knew you're going to fight, and this is not a battle that you can ever win. So you're going to have to accept the truth, not the ideal, but the truth. And as long as they want me in their lives, I'm going to be there as best as I can. But if it comes to a point where it begins to hinder my next.
Yeah. And Charles, I want to transition to this point. man, you know, you went on a 40-day fast last year
Mm-hmm.
and lost all, I mean, it had to be at least 30 pounds. Chizzy,
Yeah.
Chizzy went on a 4-hour fast. He lost
Yeah.
2 ounces. And you know,
Don't you love this guy, Charles?
as you went through a true transformational journey. I tapped in with you at the retreat last year. You was like, I asked you about some content stuff. You was like, I'm still I'm still not there, bro. I'm kind of going through this thing in real time. And that's when I really learned that, oh, the divorce is happening. You know, like this is when we was at the retreat. We had a safe space to have all this open conversation. I'm like, you lost all this weight. I haven't seen you in months. Like, what is like? And he was like, yeah, it's been a year. And I'm actually still in it. It's not even like I'm out of
Mm-hmm.
it. And so I hinted at some stuff. He was like, nah. So this year came. And I had told you last year at the King Conference, if I do this again, Charles, I want you on the
Yeah.
stage. And so I'm a type of man, I'm loyal. So I remember what I said to you, but I was like, he said he wasn't in a good space. So I'm gonna leave it alone. We can circle back next year. But then like I come back, I say, man, I would remember how I was insensitive and unaware of the plight of men who are divorced and living life after divorce. And that is a whole nother, so it's like a separate world. And I was thinking about who's qualified, and you like was the first person because of the experience we had just had the retreat.
Mm.
I say all that to say, now that you've been through everything you've been through, and now that you've done, like Chizzy was saying, man, you've done a lot of work. You know, the
Yeah.
40-day fast of water only, losing 30 pounds. Now you're moving out with your own spot. Like, even though somebody else may took 5 years, you probably did 5 years of work in like 5 months of just, I'm going to really get back to myself. And now you got to this point. I'm not compromising on the man I'm going to be, no matter who it's going to be with. Now that you're there, what advice do you have for men? Because you may have some, you mentioned ideals and acceptance, right? You had some ideas before you ever got married to your first wife. Now you done been around the block a couple times. Now you done made a personal choice to purge yourself of a lifestyle, thoughts, habits that you just didn't approve of that wasn't in alignment with what you want to be with God. But now that you're here today, what do you want to end this live with that you want to leave men about what you learned and how you're walking into this non-compromising version of yourself today?
Man, it's so much. So much.
I was thinking for you,
Um,
like, what? What am I gonna say?
I want to say, my ex-wife was a good woman. And I think that how you see your past paints
Your future.
your future, right? And one of the things that
But that's a
I heard on
healed
the line,
mindset. That's a healed mindset. That's a different mindset. So that speaks to your level of healing as well, because. Okay, I'm going to disrupt you, but
yeah.
that speaks to a different. That's an amazing point to just go ahead. Sorry.
So it's always going to come down to the best thing you can do is build a better relationship with yourself. I like there's nothing else because you see life through the lens of how you see yourself. And if you don't deal with your own identity as a result of what you've been through, you will see the past as something to run from and so forth and so on, and you will go into your future that same way. What I'm saying is that I think it is the wisest thing for someone to build a better relationship with them. My ex-wife is not a bad woman. Men, oh, that's what it was. I heard on the line the other day, someone said, they had went through a divorce and they were like, I just married the wrong woman. And in my spirit, bro, I've heard this before, but
Killing it right now.
this time I had this visceral reaction, and I heard God say, "You didn't marry the wrong woman." And the reason what he was dealing with was this idea that just because it didn't work, it wasn't God. And God was like, "No, you married the right woman. She just made the wrong choice. And I was like, huh? And he brought me to Saul. He said, when have I ever made a choice that was wrong? I chose Saul. Saul decided to make a decision that went against what I desired. And I told him, had he done what I wanted him to do, I would have established his kingdom forever, and you would have never heard of David. I didn't choose wrong. Saul chose wrong. And he was like, you didn't choose wrong. You chose right, but she has a will of her own. And the reason why that's so important is because I won't run from whatever experience that I think I'm going to have, because I don't, it's like, oh, I just, I want to marry the right one. And so it's all these different things. It's like, no, who I am is who I am. But if I don't deal with how I see myself moving forward as a result of what has happened in my past, I am going to ultimately produce what was in my past in my future.
Duplication, facts.
So facts. I say, build a better relationship with yourself. Deal with how you see yourself as a result of the relationship you have just come out of, and then move forward. Because I can look at myself and say, I did this, I did that, and all those things are true. But the reality of it is that we made some choices that broke things down. And now I can look myself in the mirror and say, this is where I made my mistakes. Let me fix that. Let me deal with how I see myself, because it was my inability to see the truth about myself that caused me to compromise in this relationship. So when I move forward, let me establish what's the truth about me. What do I expect from me? And that way I can move forward and have the healthy conversations that I didn't have prior to getting married again. Right? I went to go buy a car, and it was interesting because God was like, you're about to go into this place. What's your criteria for them having a relationship with you? So what do you mean? He said, you're about to go in there and they're going to make you sign all this paperwork. They're going to ask you all these questions. And what they're doing is they're establishing whether or not you are a good fit to have a relationship with them. What's your criteria? I didn't have one. And going through this process is helping me to establish what's my criteria in terms of who do I want to be and how do I want to function, and who can complement that, so that we are encouraging each other to be who God has called us to be, instead of compromising to make each other happy, which God has never called us to do. So,
Charles,
yeah,
man, that was amazing, man. Let the people know where they can find out more about you, what you got coming up, any upcoming events. Talk to the people, man.
So you can reach me on Facebook, and I'm on Facebook at Charles Irving, IRVING. I'm on Instagram as Coached by Charles Irving. That's COACHD by Charles Irving. I'm on LinkedIn as Charles Irving. Right now, man, I'm in a place where I'm just getting ready to move. I need to make sure that everything is stable. Once I get that stable, I'm gonna be moving out. I'm moving towards doing speaking engagements and things of that nature, doing more podcasts. I was on a podcast the other day. So I'm still doing stuff in the midst of it, but for the most part, it's really about establishing a strong foundation so that I can build whatever it is that God has called me to do in the lives of men, women, children, and moving forward, man. So if you want to reach out to me, by all means, I'm also at coachedbycharlesirving@gmail.com. I would, I love to help in any way that I can, man. So that's it for me.
I love it. Chizzy, man, what's your final words, man?
I mean, Charles said a mouthful, man, and it's hard to really duplicate the great Charles Irving. I always listen to him when he learn, and this guy is so amazing. His lens and perspective is definitely outside the box, and I really appreciate that. I want to tell you that openly, man. I love listening to you talk. You always make me think about how I view things, because you have a word spin, a really dynamic spin on how you convey information, and that's amazing. For me, I just want to say, be for people, man, who are experiencing divorce, who are grieving in any way, it's a really great opportunity. And sometimes it's harder to hear than to really, it's harder to do than to hear. Like Charles said, take time out to really analyze you. And like you said, the best thing you could do for yourself is to really spend time learning you, what you like, what you don't like, and building yourself up. So when you're ready to receive that new situation, whether it's a job, whether it's a relationship, whether it's something, that you are presenting the best possible version of yourself. And that's a consistent thing that you try to do every day, like all of us endeavor to do. Um, so yeah, man, just be ready. I can honestly say that had I not had those experiences in my past relationship, I probably wouldn't be sitting here today talking with you guys, man. I have to know that God was ultimately shifting or shifting my lens to a space where now I was ready to not just speak openly about my experiences, but to be somewhat of an advocate and to have other people benefit from our stories in this particular way. So I believe everything happens in God's way, the way it's supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And
You had to
so yeah,
accept it. That's what
yeah,
I'm about to say.
for
You
sure.
had to accept it. Where can people find out about what you got going on, Chizzy?
Man, I'm around, I'm on Instagram. I got the, Only Coach. So, check me out on the Coach. I drop little clips every other day just to help build brothers, man, to give them some motivation throughout the day, spiritual enlightenment. Instagram, Chizzy BDA, TikTok, Chizzy BDA as well, man. I'm around. You can also catch me on this little podcast me and my guy do called Boy Man King, man. The journey continues, but you could catch me on there as well. As we just create a platform for brothers to be heard and be seen and to be nurtured in a healthy and positive way, man. So yeah.
Yeah, man. Look, I'm super excited. I look at this and I've been thinking about this live all weekend because of the dynamics that I've been dealing with
Mm-hmm.
my family traveling, the funeral, me speaking at a conference. And one of the things that I shared, I think is appropriate listening to you and Charles today, and I want to share with our listeners is the principle of proclamation. Shout out to my pastor, Pastor Darius Daniels. When we talk about this principle, is not only who you let have your ear, but who you block from your ears.
Yeah.
One of the things that Charles and Chizzy was highlighting was that they made sure that I had to cut off also certain influences. And
Mm-hmm.
also, I had to initiate myself with certain influences that can help me stay in a certain direction. And I had to be isolated and make sure my self-taught. So now I'm looking at books,
Yeah.
prayers, audio, music, just environments, maybe just going with nature or going for a drive. It is imperative as we go through transitions, as we go through grief, as we go through death, as we go through life, as life keep lifing, that we are very mindful in the midst of all that to keep the principle of proclamation. Be very mindful and intentional of who you give your ear to, but
Facts.
also be very mindful of who you block your ear to. And the people that's closest to you have the most access. So sometimes you got to block family and friends, associates and colleagues, but also the people that have the best information from you sometimes are farther away. So you got to actually be intentional to go to places and to
Pick it
go to
up.
people and to go to conversation because you know where I'm at now, that's what I need. So don't be unapologetic about it. I look forward to you guys staying loyal to the platform, to all of our
Mm.
subscribers. Please subscribe to the Boy Man King podcast, to our YouTube channel, man. Share this message, share this live if it added any value. Charles, man, thank you again for the incredible game and the value add, not only to this platform, but to our conference. Shout out to the King Conference. Shout out to our entire team, Kai the Guy, King Noel, Deanna What It Do. Thank you so much for making this entire platform happen. Chizzy, man, so proud of the work and an honor to go along this work with you. But man,
For sure.
like us, follow us on Instagram, stay up to date, and we see you on the next live,
And
man.
check out Charles's episode dropping tomorrow at 12 o'clock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
as we
Thanks,
Yeah.
say,
guys, man.
and as we say on the Boy Man King platform, man, the journey
Journey continues.
man. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate you, man. And again,
Appreciate
man,
you,
check
bro.
out his episode coming out tomorrow. Let's work.
Yes, sir.
All right, so I ended that. Let me stop the recording.
Yeah.
Yes.